a rich city is not one where everyone owns cars. A rich city is one where everyone uses public transport. Let's just up the game, build the Starbucks of bus ride, right? Let's get a good bus. Let's design the route in a way that there's just this, point-to-point service. So the bus is as fast as a car. And because it's 10 stops in a small area, every home is covered in a 300 meter, 400 meter kind of distance.
Okay.
Our cities like Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore, Hyderabad, we are 10, 15, 25 million people in one city. 1.5 crore commuters in Bombay.
Riding to office every day, taking a Uber or a Ola. And here she's paying somewhere around 8k, which drops her price to 1/3 with the comfort and the assurance that there's a bus that is going to pick me up close by to my house and drop me at my office location.
We don't see ourselves as an aggregator, we see ourselves as a bus operator. But the crux of the experience is the bus ride. So we're very focused on delivering outcomes here.
Cityflo is effectively the 21st century bus company.
So Jerin, thank you so much for giving your time today for us. And I've been watching Cityflo buses across, so it's really good to sit and talk to you, understand the business model, understand your journey with Cityflo.
So thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to do this.
Thank you. So Jerin, just give us a brief on your journey, right? How did this all start? I know some of you from IIT Bombay. How did you all decide that there is a problem? I'm sure you were frustrated then with the Bombay commute and decided, no, you know what, let's become these bus operators in an ecosystem which is very hard to crack in. Give us more about it. How did it all start?
We're 4 co-founders.
Okay.
All of us went to college in IIT Bombay. And obviously it wasn't an immediate thing. We worked for about a year or so, and that's when the frustration that you spoke about kicked in. We'd all had horrible commute experiences in Bombay and very difficult, right? And I realized if my company didn't pay, I wouldn't be able to afford an Ola or an Uber every day.
Correct.
Right. So that's how we said, ki, acha, can we build this kind of comfort at a more affordable daily use price point? That's how Cityflo came about. Right. So, Rushabh and Sankal were working in consulting firms. I was with EY, and Ankit was about to join Goldmines. And of course, we said, yeah, this seems like a very good problem to solve because it's very real. And everyone we spoke to, obviously, it's common knowledge that it's probably the worst part of your day right now.
Correct.
Right. Especially in our bigger metro cities. So we said, okay, let's do this. And because it's such a large problem that it impacts almost everyone, if you solve, you get a large outcome. It's a large business that you can build, right? So this is basically just the simple guiding principles when we set out. And how exactly to go about it, what the solution would be, actually took a lot of time.
Of course.
Right? We started with, exploring how to integrate technology in public transit. The BSTs and the DTTs and because they had a running system.
Correct.
And could we improve it with tech was the first thought. And over time we realized that's going to be, that's the real need was that there was a need for a more premium mode of commute.
Correct.
Right. Something between public transport and my personal car or cab. Even cars were frustrating because I was stuck at the wheel for 2 hours, 2.5 hours every day. So something that competed with the personal car better than public transport, cheaper than cabs. That's where we realized the opportunity was, and that's what people were looking for. And we set out saying, acha, then you have to operate the mode of commute.
Correct.
You can't just do the tech. You have to be, like you said, a bus operator. And of course with an innovative model. Like back then today it seems like a product that should be there, but back then it didn't exist. So we set out understanding, acha, where do we run the route? And the routes were, and then we had to set out understanding how a city operates.
Correct.
Right. So now I'm going to compress what we learned over 4-5 years. But the way Cityflo views a city is this network of routes that connects dense commercial hubs to dense residential hubs.
Makes sense.
Right? So you'll have something like a Thane or a Hiranandani in Thane or a Majivada in Thane connected to BKC. Typically there are 1,000-2,000 people going there.
Correct.
And with those kind of volumes, mass transit is the best way for people to go in there.
Correct.
Right? And what we did then is we said, okay, let's just up the game and let's sort of, paraphrasing a customer, build the Starbucks of bus rides. Right? Let's get a good bus. Let's make it a short seat for everyone. Let's design the route in a way that there's just this point-to-point service. There's like 5 stops, 10 stops in the beginning, 10 stops in the end. So the bus is as fast as a car.
Correct.
And because it's 10 stops in a small area, every home is covered in a 300 meter, 400 meter kind of distance.
Correct.
So it's like a good bus, a Benz bus, every 15 minutes whenever you're traveling, like a 4-minute, 5-minute walk from home, and as fast as a car to BKC. That we decided was the commute experience that would make me or my wife actually shift from the car to Cityflo.
True.
Right, so that's what we set out. It took us a while to fine tune this and do that. I think, but that is the product we got to, where traction really picked up, and people said, yeah, this has solved my commute. And in fact, 75% of Cityflo's customers today are car owners.
Very nice.
Right. 50% of them were driving to work prior to using Cityflo. They switched from a car. So that is where we, like really hit the mark with the product.
And good for the environment as well.
Absolutely.
Reduces the traffic, overall city traffic as well, right? With so many cars reducing. Because I spoke to a friend who's an ISB alumni, and she mentioned that she stays in Thane and travels to Lower Parel. And I asked her why Cityflo. So she mentioned that she was riding to office every day, taking a Uber or a Ola. Would cost her 800 per side. And that comes to around 32K, right? And here she's paying somewhere around 8K, which drops her price to 1/3 with the comfort and the assurance that there's a bus that is going to pick me up from close by to my house and drop me at my office location. So that was also my one, major reason that I was looking to interview you, to considering that cost, comfort, as well as good for the environment, right?
Absolutely.
So,
what we've realized is our Indian cities, in the West, 3 million people is a big city.
Correct.
Right? Our cities like Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore, Hyderabad, we are 10, 15, 25 million people in one city.
Correct.
We can't have the same rules that apply in the West.
Correct.
The solutions have to be different. And of course, I think with BST has been like phenomenal over the years. It's part of the city. Bombay, in fact, has that culture of public transport. Locals are a big deal.
Correct.
And I think now the government, we are probably about 5-10 years late, but we are seriously upgrading the infrastructure. But I think it's not going to be just the government. I think there are different layers of public transit also.
Correct. That needs
right. There's a quote that all of us get very inspired by. Like it's by the mayor of Bogota, who'd done a very successful public transit system. He says, a rich city is not one where everyone owns cars. A rich city is one where everyone uses public transport.
True.
So in that statement is where we see Cityflo having a role. Of course, there's going to be public transport. There's about 1.5 crore commuters in daily commuters in Bombay, and about 1.2 crore of that is done by public transport. Right? But when we look at it, the remaining 30 lakhs are people who take out their bikes and cars and all of that. And what's interesting is the car population is just about 6% of these commuters, but we occupy about 90% of the road space. So the impact that Cityflo can have by moving or giving me an option, right, to move out of my car into something that's equally comfortable, that's where the impact is created. Right? So we're quite, and of course, like your friend, a lot of our customers have this experience where they were using cabs or driving, and they moved to Cityflo, and of course they speak about how much money was saved, but that's never the primary objective. They move, they're like, yeah, it's comfortable.
Comfort,
right? And at 20-30 grand, regardless of the money I make, it starts becoming an obscene amount to spend for daily commute.
Correct.
Right? I might have the money, But I don't want to spend
Spend on-
30,000 on
Yeah.
daily commute.
Correct.
Right? If I have like dynamic travel and meetings and airport, that's fine. That's different.
True.
Right? Where it's part of my job. But for daily commute, it shouldn't be.
Correct.
So we thought, let's get it to a more reasonable solution, like a reasonable price point, is equal comfort, and of course, impact on the city as well.
Makes sense.
Right.
Very nice. So tell me, how does your operation work? So I understand that you're an asset-light company, right?
Yeah.
So major stakeholder would be your bus operators.
Absolutely.
How does that work? Explain me that.
So there are bus transporters who've been in this business for a very long time. So they've typically had 2 or 3 different business opportunities.
Okay.
They either run with a corporate for their employees
Correct.
or with a school for the children, and otherwise they run intercity buses, right? Like Bombay to Pune and all of that. So we work with these operators. It's a new revenue line for them. It's a new business opportunity for
Correct.
them. We enter into a wet lease sort of model with them, where you say, okay, you buy the bus, and of course we mandate which buses, which models they can buy. You recruit a driver that Cityflo approves. You take care of fueling and the operations of the bus and the compliances and the insurance and everything. And Cityflo pays a wet lease amount every month
Okay.
for operations.
Ah.
So that's how the model is. That's a fixed amount that goes out to the operator.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So
And-
irrespective of whether the revenue is created or not for
Yeah.
that bus,
Yeah.
there is a fixed amount that.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's not, unlike platform plays in the cab space, this is
correct.
not a platform play because there's not so much the bus operator can do
Correct.
to increase revenue. That's something that's completely in Cityflo's hand.
So
Right.
you're
So-
not an aggregator.
We're not an aggregator. We are an asset-light bus company.
Understood. So what is the playbook? Generally, what happens is when you are dependent on a third party, right?
Yeah.
So ensuring that your brand value is sustained, right? Every time I get into a Cityflo,
Yeah.
the quality, the safety.
Yeah.
I've also heard good reviews about the driver's
Yeah.
appearance and the way they approach the customer. How
Yeah.
does that be consistent throughout?
Yeah. So it goes back to the same thing that you mentioned, that we are not an aggregator. We don't see ourselves as an aggregator. We see ourselves as a bus operator. Right? So we don't shy away from operations. We have a very ambitious operations team where we understand what's critical for the customer. Right? When we talk to our customers, they'll be like, okay, the app's really nice, but the crux of the experience is the bus ride.
Correct.
Right? So there's no point shying away from doing that. So like today, obviously, it's something that's we take for granted in the Cityflo system. But when we started, we had a lot of customers who were surprised by the fact that the bus showed up every day and showed up on time. In fact, even today, once in a while, we have new customers who are late for the bus because they didn't expect it to be on time and they missed the bus. Right? And of course, they're a little pissed the first time, but the second time they're delighted. कि यार ये
Time pe.
ये time पे है, ये सही है. Right? So buses getting on time, buses being available every day, the buses being clean, the buses being maintained well, and the driver driving well and having good interactions with the customer.
Correct.
Right? Where the driver is a part of my daily life. Right? I see him every day when I board the bus, when I get off the bus. He's in charge of taking me safely to office. And a lot of our customers are very familiar with their drivers. Right? So each of these points that I mentioned are the ones where my operations team focuses on. So we're very focused on delivering outcomes here. So we, in fact, for drivers, we don't just have defensive driving training sessions. We also have personality development and customer service etiquette, soft skill trainings. We do things for our drivers and their families, like through partnerships with other companies or government schemes that are available for them. Right? So we do a lot of that. We do medical
Very nice.
insurance
Very nice.
for them and their families. Right? So there's a lot of effort that goes into making it a good job for our drivers as well.
Correct.
And of course, it reflects in how they see their job and see their duty evolving into more than just driving. Right? So they believe it's their customer.
Correct.
and not Cityflo's customers that they are, you know. So there is that sense of ownership that comes into our drivers also. So it reflects in daily customer
So is there a
experience.
commission model with them, or is there?
There's no commission model.
Okay.
Yeah, it's about defining the role
Hmm.
a certain way. Ki, yaar, these are things, you know, that are part of your job. Right? So that's how.
Very nice, interesting. So from the tech point of view, considering, did you have most of your co-founders had tech background?
Yeah, Ankit is our CTO and head
okay.
of product. Yeah.
So from a tech perspective, how is Cityflo different from a route optimization, or what do you bring differently in the table?
So
UI would be one.
UI is absolutely one. So the customer app and the driver apps are essential to the service.
Correct.
Like without this, the service doesn't exist, right? Because how will people track the bus? How will people book a ride? Because it's assured seats. I'm not picking up passengers who are there at the stop. These are passengers who've all booked and are waiting for their bus at the stop. So it's a pre-existing contract that we have with every customer. So all of that is enabled through the app. Right. So while developing the app, we realized this is not a service like any other across the world, because it's a very uniquely Indian problem.
Correct.
With a uniquely Indian solution. So all of this was developed in-house over iterations. Right. So so today a customer has a very smooth experience where they put in their home and office. Cityflo will tell you and find the closest stops for you. It'll show you the best bus for you, and it'll show all the times. Right. So, and over understanding your usage patterns, we understand what your travel times usually are, and we'll suggest accordingly in the future. And then once you've tried Cityflo, you've taken a few rides, then you have the option of buying a pass. Right. 70% of our business is passes.
Monthly pass.
Yeah, because it's all daily commute and all of that. So you can buy a 15-day pass or a 30-day pass, a monthly pass. Now we very recently introduced a quarterly pass.
Oh, okay.
So you can do that, right? Through which you can eliminate, you know, the daily booking process. In fact, a lot of our customers buy the flexi pass saying, "यार मुझे नहीं book करना है हर दिन." Why am I booking every day for my daily commute? So they book a certain time, right? Say 7:30 in the morning I leave, or 7:45 in the morning I leave. Evening 5:45 I'll return, and I've booked. And what do they need? What they need, however, is that in today's, like the way our jobs are, it's not fixed. The mornings are still fixed. In the evening I don't know. So you get free rescheduling, free cancellations with the Cityflo ride.
Very
So you can cancel your ride for that day, you get the money back. You can reschedule, ki yaar aaj 5:45 I'm done at 4:30, I'll just reschedule to the 4:45 bus. So there's a bus running every 15 minutes.
Correct.
So you can reschedule to that one. Right. So that's how the you know, passes are structured. So all of this tech is a very essential part of you know, doing this. More importantly is where we step into the next part, which is the operations. We have a 3-member control tower which sort of operates 400 buses across 3 cities today.
Okay.
All of this is enabled by tech, right? Whether the bus, of course, we have teams that will ensure quality, work with the driver. So the operations team is larger, right? But we have a 3-member control tower which is overseeing the entire operation across 3 cities, which is effectively through tech. So, like for example, if a bus has to start at 7:15, there is a protocol that starts from 6:30 that the bus has to adhere to, so that we know that the bus is showing up at 7:15.
Correct.
Right? And any deviation, right, whether it's in the pre-ride zone or during the ride, where it's a deviation or there is a stoppage more than scheduled, all of that is managed in an automated fashion. So the team gets alerts when things go wrong, because it's a system that keeps working. So all of that tech enables, and then we don't, we see it as how a bus company should be working in today's time and age.
I'm surprised because Indigo can do this, right? Because of air traffic. But how do you manage the Bombay or for that matter Hyderabad traffic with such a good precision, where each deviation gets flagged so early on, and your buses are on time?
So it's something we've developed over the years, and we've also perfected it, and we still have, if you talk to the team, you'll hear 10 ways in which we could improve that further. But I think like just to add some nuance to it, like we break it up in 3 parts. Punctuality, it's a very complex problem in our cities. So one is departure from the first stop.
Correct.
That is almost completely in our hands. That's something we can't go wrong on.
Correct.
We have a 100% mark on that, right? Where if it's 98%, 99%, it's a red flag. Then we have the pickups, you know, where people are waiting, and of course they can track the bus on the app, so they don't have to wait too long. But the pickups, I think we do about 96% of the pickups within 3 minutes of schedule time.
Okay.
Right. So that's something that's critical after the first stop. We have the destination punctuality, which is where things get a little trickier. But that's also something where we found customers to be a lot patient, where you know they're part of the traffic and the journey. So of course, you know, it pinches me where if I schedule for 9:30, I expect Cityflo to tell me this bus won't reach at 9:30 February.
Correct.
Right, and this is the one that reaches at 9:20. So what we do for that is every Saturday we have an automated script that corrects the schedule depending on last week's performance.
Oh, interesting.
So that is how you know we manage that. The times we show on the app are something that our customers can trust.
Makes sense.
Right. So for example, as the monsoons start, so today a bus that will start at 8 a.m. will reach BKC by 8:55. So someone who has to get in at 9:10 will take that bus. But by July end and August, where monsoons are at their peak, you know, the potholes start showing up.
Correct.
We've realized that 8 a.m. Bus reaches at 9:25. So this person actually needs to move to about 7:35, 7:40 by this time. That is something the app shows. Right. So that is how, you know, we manage the destination punctuality so that the person reaches on time.
Correct.
So all of these are things that have been developed keeping the customer experience in mind.
Interesting.
Right. Of course, this is there, and at the very end, you know, we have you know, how to design a route, how to design the stops to minimize collective walking distance. We can't minimize it for one person. Right. How many stops do we do? How much impact does one stop have over the journey time? Right. Because one stop for me as a customer might be just 25 seconds, 30 seconds. But for the bus, there's a deceleration and an acceleration and moving to the right lane. So it ends up being like 70-80 seconds on the journey time that one stop impact is. So we evaluate that on the number of stops that should be put in. So all of that happens through tech and data.
So how do a new route gets identified? Like what data and tech do you use for those fronts?
So we are actually fortunate to be a very visible brand, right? So we probably have just 6 routes into BKC, like 4 from Thane, then we have Mulund, we have Navi Mumbai, we have Vashi, and we have Andheri, and we have Chembur. Yeah, in fact a little more than 6. Now when people see it in BKC, we got a lot of sign-ups from Andheri West, Kandivali, from Malad, from Dadar, right? So we keep getting sign-ups, and these sort of collect as a wait list for us, right? So when the wait list hits about 1,000 people, we know that becomes a serious consideration route for us, right? So that is a very, very big driver for us. So we typically, when we launch a route, we usually have more than 1,000 people who've signed up for the route, right? So then we get a certain set of buses that we can run basis that. So that's how new routes happen. So it is a data play again, because this person logs into the app, says this is my home, this is my office, do you have a bus? And I say I don't have it today, but when we launch it, I'll inform you.
Notify, yeah. Makes sense. So we've spoken about data, technology part of it. We've also spoken about processes, right? How your team ensures that from a bus operator perspective also things are aligned. Tell me more about your team, your people part of it. How big is your team? How is it structured currently?
We have a 100-member team approximately. I think give or take 5 people here and there. The bulk of this is operations and customer support, right? So while the control tower is 3 people, there is the on-ground monitoring or the auditing team, you know, that makes sure, because this is not a business that you can run from your office. You have to be on ground. You have to monitor everything. Of course, we have a very rich customer feedback system, because this customer is very engaged, right? Like I'm going to sit in the bus tomorrow again, so I need your problems fixed, right? So, but we have a team that monitors it. We have an overnight cleaning schedule. We have a regular driver training process. So the biggest part is operations and customer support, which is about 55-60% of the team.
Okay.
So about 60 people are operations and customer support. The rest of it gets divided across, you know. So I think we have a 12-member tech and product team, which sort of builds all of this, and the remaining 30, the functional teams would be data is one. We have a 3-member data team. Then we have a growth and marketing team, which sharply focuses on the new routes, because the routes once set, they are on autopilot.
Correct.
Right? And there's a certain organic reach that the route gets. You know, people talk about it. There are, say, 500 people from a small area using Cityflo.
Correct.
So everyone knows them. You know, in fact, the areas that we operate in, we've seen density as high as 1 in 3 households is a Cityflo customer. Right? So, but on the new routes, to achieve that critical mass, our growth and marketing team focuses on that route for like a 1-2 quarter period until the route can grow on its own. And of course, then we have the creative and the brand team.
How do, like, what do they do? Performance marketing. How do they sign up new customers? There is obviously one is Cityflo is visible across roads, right? I see Cityflo in BKC, and I am in a route which was not previously there. I would sign up, but then what? How does your team come into picture?
So the signups that you mentioned, the organic ones where, you know, people see the bus and come in.
Correct.
This happens on a city level.
Correct.
Right? But for me, when I launch a route, I need people traveling exactly from that point to this point, which doesn't happen, you know, and I need it in an accelerated fashion.
Correct.
Like our target for break-even is 3 months. So that specific job is what the marketing and the growth team does, right? So of course there is an umbrella of organic acquisitions that we get and the wait list that I spoke about, but getting them to take the bus, of course, and if you think about it, daily commute is not a frivolous decision for everyone. For the customer, it's a very well thought decision.
Correct.
I know there are cabs, I know there's my car, I know I have a two-wheeler, I know there's the train, I know there's the bus, I know I can take a rickshaw. If I am taking one of these, it's an extremely well thought, well tried out decision, right? So when you tell a person to change their commute decision, it's a tall ask, right? It's not an easy ask. It's almost like saying तुम morning में उठते हो, coffee पीते हो, then ये करते हो, saying नहीं, you do it the other way around. It's that, like नहीं, आप मत बताओ मुझे क्या करना है. So that job is what the growth and marketing team does. So you have to do a job of convincing them why Cityflo is good until enough people have tried Cityflo there. Right, so we've done performance marketing, but typically these areas are so small that performance marketing is not as effective. So we go offline. We tie up with with residential complexes. We in fact do some fun events. We sponsor cricket tournaments and you know the likes. We also have partnerships with a lot of corporate offices. Right, so these are the hubs where we do our marketing.
Interesting. Yeah. So, as a startup, right, most of the startups find it very difficult to get their first check, right? And what we just spoke about, there is a lot of similarities with the Marriott. What Marriott is to the hospitality sector, which is premium, right? Something Cityflo is to the whole travel industry. So, when that first check came in, the first pitch also for that matter, right? How did you convince? And you started in Bombay initially, correct? So how did you first convince your investors that this is a good idea for Bombay with a premium transport service?
I think people have had, you know, the way I see the fundraise process is it's as much about convincing the investor as much as finding a person who is looking for that business or already believes in the solution, right? So our first investor was, you know, erstwhile IDG. Like now they are Charity Ventures. Now they've exited the company. I believe they had, you know, they were obviously looking for a solution like this, as it's true for a lot of the investors who have managed to invest, and
Correct.
in fact, people who like investors do have an idea about the kind of companies which will come up in a certain space, right? So after Ola and Uber established, the use of apps for in the taxi space, I think there were a lot of people who were on the lookout for something in the bus space, in the city commute. Yeah. So I think, of course, we had our job of telling how we were approaching the solution or the problem, and what we had built, and of course the traction and kind of usage you see gives them the confidence. Okay, I had this in mind, but this is working, right? So that's how is how I do it. So of course you have to meet enough people because you don't know what people are thinking.
Correct.
So you meet a bunch of people, talk to them, explain your solution, and then you strike a chord and then take it forward, right?
So your first check was before this operationalized?
No, it was after we operationalized. It was like, now in hindsight, it was quite reckless because it's an expensive business to
Correct.
operate with your own money. But we pooled in savings, got in one of our co-founders, like elder brother, to pull in bunch of money, right? And fortunately it worked out for us. Wouldn't recommend it to people who would be starting right now. I think we could have been, but I think that's how it is, right?
Correct.
Like there's always a mix of luck in the,
Correct.
although we don't like to admit it often, but there's a very definite mix of luck. Yeah. So we got in, but we got in money quite early. We got it in within 3 months of operations, which is quite soon.
Very
Fortunate.
soon.
Otherwise, we would have shut down.
So I see a lot of new revenue streams opening up now, right? With advertisements, I've seen a lot of advertisements in your Cityflo buses. I've also seen that you all are entering the premium luxury cabs. So talk to me more about both of these revenue streams and tell me if there is any other lined up as well.
So Cityflo and its avatar, the premium buses, the perfect operations, and all of that. Like the latest version started post-pandemic.
Okay.
So 2021, we got out as a, I think 30-40 buses operation, like coming out of the pandemic, and that we've scaled about 9 times, from there. And last year we sat down and said, okay, we built out this model, which is unique and forms a foundation of the business, of the company. And we've always seen Cityflo as a mobility company, right? So of course buses are going to be the crux of it. It's going to be at the center of it. But there are obviously a lot of use cases where I cannot use the bus, right? So that's definitely one. The other objective or the problem that we are trying to solve was, okay, we operate in a space where people travel to work, right? And there are two kinds of, just like you mentioned airlines, right? Like we see ourselves as doing, taking a lot of lessons from the airlines and applying it to the bus industry, because it's pretty much the same, right? So in fact, our head of maintenance, head of appearance is ex-Qatar Airways, right? So and he believes there's no reason why the buses shouldn't be as clean, right? So that is going to be an ongoing process for him, right? So what we've realized is there are people where either they pay for their commute or the corporate pays for their commute, right? So we said that this is a natural extension where we reach out to corporates and we offer a very flexible product suite for them. One is obviously the corporates who've decided they want to give exclusive buses for their employees, they can do that, which is the traditional model. But obviously Cityflo gives in tech, right? There's tracking, there's a user experience, there's safety, we have CCTV cameras on all our buses, and the professionalism that Cityflo brings. Cityflo also gives great cost advantage, because now you're using a bus out of a bigger fleet, right? Where I have economies of scale. The second part, which is very innovative, which we have about 8 to 10 clients on right now, is for the first time in a bus ride, you get to pay per seat.
Okay.
So I'm a 40 people organization. I can't afford a bus for my employees, right? And I say my office in BKC, I have 3 people working out, like coming in from Thane. I can just buy 3 passes for my employees now at like as cheap as 5,000, 6,000 bucks, right? So that is something that's freshly and newly Cityflo, and that became something that we introduced around June last year, and that has picked up like anything, which was like a 3 crore business last June, now is about 25 crores in revenue. So that's like an 8 times growth that we've seen, albeit on a small base, but very significant traction, and we see it growing quite fast. So that was like a natural extension for us. We're doing the same thing, serving the same passenger, except the revenue line comes in through the corporate.
B2B.
Right, and obviously advertisement was something to be unlocked, and of course we had spent time with the agencies and the ad world, because in the long run we wouldn't want to be in the business selling ads. We are in the core business of serving passengers. What we wanted to establish with Cityflo for the advertisers was that this is a very different media from other buses. That looks different, and the locations that it's available at is key.
Correct.
Right, it's available at all the hotspots and the most valuable locations across the city.
Correct.
Right, so I think that we did through some very well received campaigns with new age brands, premium brands.
Correct.
A lot of BFSI folks came in, the banks and the mutual funds and all of them. So that was a very exciting time for us. We're looking to reveal it soon, but we've signed a big deal with one of the largest agencies in the country. Right, so that seems to be on autopilot now. Right, and this has been what we've been up to over the last 3 quarters, and very recently we've said, see, a lot of our customers, they use us about say 5-10 times a month, and the rest of the time when we speak to them, they're like, yeah, I'm on a sales job, I have 3 meetings today, so I can't use Cityflo today, right? Or I'm traveling, I go to the airport, or I go to another city, intercity, Pune or Nasik, and we realized we had this base of about 500,000 customers.
Correct.
Who had this use case which is right outside the Cityflo ambit, which came very naturally to us, and obviously as we get into corporate travel,
Correct.
We have gotten into operating cabs ourselves, because in certain areas buses don't make sense. That's how Cityflo Lux came about. We said, this effectively the way we see it is, if you look at our previous generation, all of our dads had a guy, कि call करो, airport जाना है, या आज मीटिंग के लिए, शॉपिंग के लिए जाना है, there's a, we are the ride hailing generation, right, and we are not familiar with this, we don't have a guy, right, we want an app, right, and what happened is, the current players, while it's super dynamic and it's very last minute, the service quality is extremely poor.
Correct.
And the biggest problem, I'm not sure it'll show up. Like I'm worried at a 4 a.m. Flight that the cab will actually not show up on time and I'll be late. And I don't have an option. So we said, let's solve for reliability, especially for airport, for my meetings. The ride hailing option doesn't work out very well. I don't want to book 3 times in a day.
Correct.
Right, so that's how Lux came about. So it's like a simple on the app experience for the new generation, and it's taken off really well. We've gotten a lot of feedback, and a lot of good feedback. A lot of our customers actually, have, and I think it'll become quite a significant portion of the business sooner than we expected. Right, so that's how Lux has taken up, and of course, our latest thing has been looking at the public transit market.
Okay.
Right. So now Cityflo is operating about 400 buses, 3 cities. We have a certain ability from an operations perspective.
Correct.
And something very defining is happening in the public transit sector right now.
Yeah.
Right. So we have about 2 lakh buses, approximately 1.5-2 lakh buses, owned and operated by the government till today.
So you're best, basically.
Yeah, the best, the DTCs, the municipal transport buses. The central government, along with the state governments, has decided all of this is going to get privatized.
Okay, interesting.
That's an extremely big volume.
Yeah.
Right. So and this is a very proven model. Singapore, London, all of these, work in this model, where operations are high quality, costs are maintained well. They run at good cost, and the costs don't balloon up. that's going to happen in India. And for context, I think Singapore has a $1 billion company called Comfort Delgro.
Okay.
Right, and they operate about 5,000 buses. In India, what's happening over the next 3 to 5 years is 2 lakh buses are going to come into the private bus space. It's a huge, so these 2 lakh buses would be an annual billing of about 1 lakh crore. So that sort of, revenue stream is flowing into the private bus market in India. So I think it's going to be probably the biggest moment in the Indian bus market. So that's something that, it's very exciting and it's something that we are getting into. We've incorporated new brand Urban Glide.
Okay.
And we're looking to operate about 500 buses in the next 12 months.
Okay.
With like across the cities, like probably some in Bombay because for
so Urban
the
Glide would be a public sector bus?
Public sector buses.
Okay.
Correct. There's a company that will operate under the brands of each of these players, like whether it's in Bombay, Delhi, Hyderabad, or any of these.
Interesting. So with the premium car service, which is Lux, how is the model? Are you asset light there as well?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
we remain asset light, but focused on experience, right? So there's obviously an operations layer. We'll never call ourselves an aggregator or a platform, but we'll remain asset light.
Interesting. Because generally startups either go for customer acquisition or revenue, right? Like and here when we speak about, like, I see there is a lot of expansion planned as well. And at the same time revenue also is looked upon, like even advertisement as a revenue stream, which is outside your regular operation is looked upon. So there's a lot of focus given on revenue as well, right?
No, absolutely. In that, we're a very traditional company. We're very clear on objectively being profitable. In fact, last 3 years we've been operationally profitable every year. Right. So of course, while we are a smaller company, the corporate expenses are higher, but the buses make money. So our Hyderabad, which was the second city, broke positive, like turned positive last month.
Very nice.
And Delhi is obviously very new for us, about 2 months old, and that's going to take maybe another 4-5 months. But Bombay has always remained profitable, right? So we have our big routes which make money. New routes obviously lose money for some time. So in that we want to stick to the mandate of making money in the business we do, right? And obviously advertisement is also very valuable from that perspective, because it's a cost that, like, revenue stream that goes direct to the bottom line for us,
Makes
right?
sense.
So
Talk to me more about stakeholder management, because with the government, right, especially, how does it work for you? How do you manage your investor, government, your drivers, right, operators? Talk to me about your stakeholder management.
Is the reason we have our jobs, right? So of course, I'll take it one by one. Our operators, is our oldest relation. We've worked with them over the years, understood their problem, solved it for them, and now I think a lot of, like, people in Bombay, pretty much all the bus operators know of Cityflo, and they also have an idea of our reputation, right? They know that we're a good company, good to work with, understanding people, no problem with payments, which is a very rampant issue in transport. Pays what they promise, not the incentives in the beginning and then nothing in the end sort of situation. So we have that sort of reputation, and obviously, we've also earned the respect in doing something a lot of people thought would not be possible, right? So I think that's the operator side. Today we have a very good working relation with a lot of small, mid and large operators, not just across Bombay, in fact in other cities also. Right. So with the government also, we've had a very long-standing journey, like starting with something semi-hostile in 2016 when we started, to something that developed over the years, right? And we've seen it as a very serious stakeholder to manage, right? And to talk to explain. And what we've said is, we see our cities as cities that will have to offer multi-layered public transit.
Correct.
Right. My VST today would be, it's just increasing fares from 5 rupees to 10 rupees. The average Cityflo fare is $180. This is not the same person.
Correct.
Cityflo cannot dream to serve that passenger.
Correct.
And this passenger, like that Cityflo serves, has requirements that the government's not looking into.
Correct.
Right? So, we've gotten feedback as to say, 3C, the handrest is shaking. Right? And I need to rest my arms on that while I sleep on my commute to work. Please fix it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the level of feedback we get from our customers, and there's a certain expectation of customer support.
True.
And the app experience, all of that, right? Certain dynamism, and I don't think that is the mandate of public transit as it is.
Correct.
Right? Today, I think we have about 2,500 BST buses. As per our calculations, and I think there's certain agencies also that work on it. We need about 15,000-20,000 buses for a city like Bombay, right? For our scale. So I think the job is something that will also need to be done by private players, right? We'd in fact encourage more private players like this, because out of 600 routes in Mumbai, Cityflo is operational only on 60 of them, even today. So we have a 10 times growth that's left in Bombay for us. Right, so this is something that we've explained to our stakeholders, the authorities, in fact today we have very positive response from a lot of people in the traffic police who we work with very regularly, the RTOs, the compliance agency, and even the ministry. We have conversations and we have a point of view on what the city will look like, what will happen with the metros. The metro will need its feeder services, right? So Cityflo is very much a player in the ecosystem today. Of course, it will evolve with time as new modes come in.
Correct.
Right, but we've worked hard, and we've actually seen very positive responses. Of course, there are challenges, right? There are certain, points of contention and all of that. But we've seen a lot of people very supportive of Cityflo. We've seen a lot of people within these offices who are Cityflo customers, and a lot of people whose kids and family members are customers, and so they know what kind of company it is, and so and we get to see a lot of anecdotes that traffic policemen talk about our customers, and what their experience and from their perspective what Cityflo looks like, and it's a perspective we don't have.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. So it's quite nice, and of course investors are the people who backed this business when it didn't make any money. Right. So they put in the money believing in the story as much as we did. So we try to be in constant touch with them, explain to them what's up with the business, what we are trying, how it's progressing, and we see it as very much as part of our job, and something we do very excitedly. That is reporting of the business, right? So and we've been fortunate to have extremely supportive investors in our big funds that are there in Cityflo. One called India Quotient from now they're in Bangalore, and Lightbox, who are based in Lower Parel. So both of them, in fact, have been very supportive, and in fact, whenever we've gotten siloed or we've failed to see the other perspective, and it's probably been tough conversations for them to have, because founders can be quite stubborn sometimes. But they've taken the effort to make us see their point of view, and it's turned out quite well, right, for us, like in hindsight. So yeah.
So any advice that you would give to young founders or professionals who are looking to start their own, professionals like you who were previously working somewhere and want to start something in the transportation business? Do you have any advice for them? That something that you would have, someone else would have told you before you started this?
In the transportation sector, I would say be in it for the long haul. It takes time to build business in transportation. It's a mix of course, tech is essential, but it's a mix of tech and heavy operations, and of course, there's investor and government. Correct. And it's a fairly regulated space. So all of those need to be managed. The scales are large if you want to build a large business. So the number of people, the number of stakeholders that you will interact with will be large, right? So these are things that you will build over time, right? And especially if you're new in the sector, it's going to take some time before the industry accepts you. Correct. Is how I'd put in. So be in it for the long haul. But otherwise, what I'd say is it's a huge market. It's an unsolved problem. and I don't think it's going to be one company, one solution that will solve it.
Correct.
You know, there's basis the size of the city solutions are different. There's travel within the cities. You know, there's public transit. There's schools. There's corporates. So there's all sorts of travel. There's you know, players who are doing last mile and first mile, right? So there's autos. So there's all kind of solutions that will be there. I think it'll be a tough battle regardless, because everyone is going to go for everything in the long run. But there are different ways to enter the market and play the game. So it's quite exciting, but I think you'll have to be
patient.
You'll have to be patient. You'll have to be strong to enter this business.
Interesting. Should we close with the rapid fire? A quick rapid fire.
Yeah, absolutely.
So one Cityflo route you would ride just for the view.
Chembur to South Bombay takes the Eastern Freeway.
Last startup founder you were inspired by?
Shibam from Attenborough.
Investor feedback that really stayed with you?
I think there's a lot. I'm trying to. It's not going to be a rapid fire answer, but Anand from India Quotient, you know, told me something that's very, you know, stuck with me. He said you have to realize you're doing this for yourself, you know, and you know, while you can make the job bigger than it is, it also adds to the pressure of you know, what you've taken upon, right? So keep it simple, do your job, do it for yourself, then do it for the company and everyone you work with. It also keeps the bad times easier.
Okay. Interesting. One app you can't live without apart from Cityflo?
Twitter.
X now.
X, yes.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jerin, for your time.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Likewise.